Hello everyone and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. And this one probably going to be a bit of a shorter video like I always say, and it ends up going long, but in this one it's going to be reacting to a couple of new rosters. I wanted to do a video reacting to all of them and then power ranking them, but we still have teams like OGLA who won't announce like an official roster, and Paris who doesn't even have any rumored players, although maybe they just signed Tommy. But yeah, we're going to talk about shorter video today, the LA Guerillas and the New York Subliners rosters. Yeah, so if you enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts on these rosters down below as well, and your thoughts on who the heck Paris is going to get. Is OGLA going to stick with Draza as their fourth, or are they going to get somebody else? And subscribe if you enjoy. We're on the road to 200 subs. So without further ado, we're going to get into the video. I don't really have any other rumors to talk about that have been going on in the CDL. It looks like Tommy officially signed a contract, but who knows, he could be signing back on the bench for Dallas because he didn't get any opportunities, and then run a challengers team there because he seemed to really like the org. But I could also see him possibly finding his way somewhere else, maybe to Paris to build their team, because I don't know, his stream's gone really well, so he's made a lot of money off that. So if Paris is only offering minimum contracts, maybe he said screw it and took a minimum contract to be like the main AR for Paris and build that team out or something. I could see him doing that because, I mean, if you're making plenty of money off streaming like he has been recently, and you really want to play again, especially being an older pro like he is, he might not get another opportunity. So if he had an opportunity to start on Paris, he might have just said screw it and done it. But yeah, that's really the only like rumor kind of stuff. There's also one with New York kind of, but when we talk about the roster, we'll get into that. Because their roster, technically their starting roster isn't officially confirmed. They may still be signing one more player who might be a starter over Hydra, but we'll get into that when we talk about them. First, I want to talk about the LA Guerillas. They announced their roster a couple days ago, and it's kind of underwhelming, I guess I would say. If you saw my tweet, I actually said I was a little bit more excited about the Academy team in a way, but we'll talk about their starting roster first. It's Silly, Apathy, Assault, and Vivid. I was ready to say 5 players because I'm so used to that over the last 2 years, but no, only 4 now. And obviously Assault's going to be the main AR, and then I would assume Silly will be the flex, and Apathy and Vivid will be the subs. Honestly, this team is like, it's one of those teams that I feel like isn't ever going to get like blown out in a series. Like, they're not just going to get absolutely dominated, but I could see them having a very negative record and being one of the worst teams. But at the same time, if they are one of the worst teams, it's going to be like they're at the bottom of the standings, but you do feel that at any point they could upset anybody because, I mean, Assault is a solid, like, middle of the pack AR. Silly's another, like, solid player, kind of middle of the pack as, like, a sub or a flex. Vivid was kind of like a breakout star last year. He really struggled a lot in respawns, but he was really good in search, so maybe he can help carry them in that game mode. And then Apathy is one of those players that last year he struggled. BO4 he struggled for a while, but he always turns up towards the end of the year. And, I mean, before BO4, like, at the end of World War II, he could have won MVP at Champs. So could Silly, though, and Assault ended up winning it. And then, like, in BO3, he was unreal. He was one of the best players in the game. So, I mean, depends on what Apathy you get. If you get Superstar Apathy and, like, World War II Champs, Silly and Assault, and then Vivid from last year, I mean, you maybe have a team that could crack the top 6. But I think that's, like, their absolute ceiling is, like, top 6. One thing I do like about the team is, I mean, in the past, like when it used to be 4v4 in World War II and before, honestly, your flex, you more wanted him to be like an AR first player that could also use a sub. But to me, I honestly think with the way Call of Duty is transitioning and like the so-called cracked players and how it plays a lot faster, I almost think you're looking more to get a flex who's like a sub first but can also use an AR, and I definitely think that's what Silly is. He's more of a sub first, but he could use an AR if he has to. So I kind of actually like him. That's the one thing I do like about this roster is, I mean, Apathy obviously can use a sub, Vivid can use a sub, that's what their natural role is. Silly's almost more of a natural sub than an AR anyways too, and then Assault's obviously more of a natural AR. So the one thing I do like about this roster is the fact that they have 3 people who are very comfortable using a sub, because with the way that COD's going, and it seems like based on the beta, if the meta stays somewhat the same, it seems like a sub-heavy game. So I do like the idea that they could possibly have 3 subs on their roster. But overall, not too pumped for this roster. I think they're like a 8 through 12 team with maybe potential to crack like the 6 range possibly if the meta fits them really well and if Apathy is a superstar. Then the Academy team, which I'm more excited about, they have Chino, Mental, Exceed, and Narrow Poison. I believe Chino will probably be the main AR because I think Exceed and Poison are subs, I mean, I know Exceed is, and I'm pretty sure Poison is, and then I feel like Mental will be like a flex player. Usually the players that come over from another esport always play flex. I don't know why. It seems like they do, though. Like Enable did, Frosty did. It just seemed to play the flex. But I'm super excited for this roster. This might be like the best roster in Challengers. I mean, you've got Chino at the main, finally. I mean, that's where Chino's natural role is, but he always seems to be the nice guy on the team who's willing to be flexible for other players. But now it's Chino's time to say, screw it, I need to get back in the league. I need to show him a good man AR. I'm happy for him. I really like Chino. But Chino on the main, and then Mental, I'm super excited to see on the flex because he's like, I don't know too much about Gears, but from what everybody says, it seems like he's like the greatest Gears player of all time, or one of them. I know he was on like Optic for a while, like the best Gears team. So I don't know if he's actually technically the best Gears player ever, but I know he's like top 2, top 3 Gears players ever. So I'm pretty excited to watch him on the flex. I think he could be really good. And then Exceed has been, I mean, he was good at BO4 Champs, and when he subbed in last year at Champs, he was actually pretty good as well. And then I don't know much about Poison, but I've seen his name in the community for like the last 3 years. I think he just turned 18, so I think he's a pretty good player, a young player that he's got a guy like Chino who can kind of mold him. I know Chino's a pretty calm leader, a good in-game leader, so Chino can maybe mold him into something special. But yeah, I'm super excited to watch this team. I actually think they're going to be like a top 2, top 3 Challengers team. And I say that, but I guess they could maybe not be, because I'm thinking, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, how many players got cut out of the league? 12 players got cut out of the league, so there's probably going to be some really good Challengers teams this year, with guys like Asim maybe not on a team, even maybe Temp not on a team. I mean, John, if he doesn't get a team, those are going to be nasty Challengers teams. But at the same time, I could also see Mental hopping up to the starting roster on this team. I feel like Apathy's spot is pretty safe as a sub, and then Vivid, since they re-signed him, I feel like his spot's pretty safe. I think they like view him as like their franchise player. And then Assault, his spot is safe unless Chino jumps up to the main roster. But Silly as the flex, I feel like if Mental is just absolutely disgusting at this game, it's going to be hard to deny him from the roster. And he might move up to the flex, and then all of a sudden, if they have Assault, Apathy, Vivid, and Mental's really good, I could see this roster making moves. But that's all I want to talk about for the LA Guerillas. A little bit of an underwhelming roster, but their Challengers roster is super intriguing and maybe offers some people like Chino and Mental that could hop up to the starting roster. And the other team that announced their roster that I want to get into is New York, and now technically they didn't announce their like official starting roster and say it was their starting roster. I don't think. They just welcomed Hydra, and he's the 4th guy on their roster. And this is kind of giving me like Gotaga vibes. If you guys remember Gotaga, he was like, they called him the French monster back in the day, like way back in like Black Ops 2 and stuff. He was like a super good player, but he was from France, and there really wasn't any other good players from France. So he was like carrying them super hard, but they just didn't have enough other players to compete with like the NA teams and stuff. But Hydra is a French player. I believe he's 18 or 19. I think he like ran the EU scene a little bit last year. I'm not really sure. I don't know too much about him, so I'm kind of sorry for that. But I believe he plays like a sub or a flex. But if he is on the starting roster, that'd make the roster Clayster, Mac, Zoomaa, and Hydra. And then obviously Clay would be on the main AR. Zoomaa will be on a sub. And then I believe Hydra would use a sub and Mac would use a flex, or Mac would be a sub and Hydra would be a flex. I'm not sure how to work. But either way, I believe that they're all 3 sub-heavy players. So once again, even if Mac is their flex or if Hydra is their flex, I know they're both very good with the sub. So I like that about the roster because Clay is a great leader. And if Clay has proven anything, BO4, he takes on... BZ wasn't technically a rookie, but an extremely young player. His first year pro was like World War II, so I mean, BZ was an extremely young player. His first time being on a good team, like a top team, because in World War II he jumped around on some pretty bad teams. And then he had Simp, who was a rookie in the league, and he wins champs. Then last year he picks up illey and shottzyy. Once again, 2 guys that we knew were going to be really good, but they were still rookies. He picks them up, and he wins. Now he's got a veteran in Zoomaa. Mac is almost essentially a rookie. He played like half the year last year. You could almost consider him a rookie. And then he's got Hydra, who this is his first time in the Pro League, pretty much. I think he might have been on like that Denial team in BO4 possibly, but this is like his first real time with like a really talented team in the Pro League. So he's got 2 young guys again. And who knows, maybe Clay can mold these guys. But the other rumor is that John could possibly be joining this team. And if he does, I wouldn't be shocked if he's a starter because, I mean, if you know anything about John, he couldn't play last year due to reasons that they can't say, I guess. I believe he had to have been suspended because John would have definitely gotten a roster spot if he was like eligible to play. But he was suspended for something. We will get into that, but he was. And I believe that if he got on the Subliners, he would probably be a starter. Now, I don't know if that'll last the whole year. But I would think with how good he is and probably having a pretty good relationship with like Clay and Zoomaa that he'd probably get a starting spot. And if he did, they'd be really, really nasty. That'd put Zoomaa and John on the subs, and then probably Mac on the flex, and then Clay on the main. And that team would be absolutely disgusting too. That's kind of the team I want to see more, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing some French representation in the league. So seeing Hydra would be cool, and seeing what he could do would be cool. Otherwise, I could see him maybe running a challengers team for New York. But overall, I would be super, super excited to watch this team, regardless if it's John or Hydra. And I also think regardless of if it's John or Hydra, if Hydra's as talented as everybody says he is, he's going to fit in just fine with a team with this much talent. And I think the New York Subliners are going to be like a top 5 team. And when I say top 4 or top 5, that doesn't mean I think they're going to be 4 or 5. I just think that there's a lot of good teams this year, especially with OGLA not having announced the roster. I think they might be a top 4, top 5 team. So I think Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago have to be in your top 3 or 4, and then I think like OGLA and New York are like my 4 or 5. That's why I'm saying I think New York is a top 4 or 5 team. I think they have potential to be number 1, but I would bet on FaZe probably being number 1 over them, or Dallas, or even Chicago. But I do feel like New York has like top 4 potential to win events, potential to be there at the end, championship weekend, whenever that is. Hopefully it's on LAN. I feel like they have potential to be there at the end. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on those 2 rosters. Don't really have anything else to get into today. Like I said, going to be a bit shorter than our normal actual podcast episodes, but I wanted to get some content out for you, talk about the rosters that just came out. And yeah, I think that will do it for this one. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. I try to post like weekly CDL content. Right now it's harder to get content out, especially about the league, because obviously it's not going on currently. It's the off season. But I do post pretty often content on it. So yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Ryan with the CDL Podcast channel, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.